Welcome back to Let's Play Darkest Dungeon. I'm your host, Timepants, and today we are going to be heading to the Warrens, the Weald, the Warrens, the Weald. Let's say the Weald, just because I am still not 100% confident in my character's abilities to avoid disease. Now, I am going to be doing something a little bit weird, or at least it may seem that way at first, but I'm actually going to pack a ton of food. Now, the reason for this is not that I'm a massive coward. Let me try that again. Most of the reason for this is not that I'm a massive coward, but in fact, our highwayman is suffering from a particular disease called tapeworm. Yeah, nasty little bugger, but basically what it does is it renders him basically perpetually hungry. So he eats twice his normal share, regardless of what the situation is. So if we feast as part of our camping, he's going to eat double that. I think that'll take it from 8 to 10. And if we get a hunger event, the food consumption is going to jump. Is going to jump from 4 to 5. Basically, yeah, we're just going to have to account for that. But yeah, here we go. You can see that here, and yeah, it rounds up. So that's a little bit annoying, but let's just try and deal with it as best we can. I'm thinking battle trance might be somewhat useful. However, the moon ring has more accuracy than the sun ring, so we might be able to skimp on this, especially since I don't think we're going to encounter any size 2 creatures since it's still a novice level dungeon. I think this is going to be a great investment right here. And now that leaves us with 5 time, which gives us a few interesting options here. Uncatchable and Bandit Sense, I think they synergize very well with each other. We are going to be proceeding in darkness, as you can see here. All of our trinkets are, those moon trinkets. So, yeah, there definitely is an advantage to avoiding surprise, and we're not going to enjoy the benefits of high light, allowing us to scout more effectively. Battle trance, also very good. The question is, how do we feel about her accuracy? And honestly, I kind of want to say it's probably fine. I kind of want to say it's fine. So, you know what? We're just going to leave this party be, and I think we're going to go here with some of our non-combat buffs, just, to kind of mix things up a little bit. And fortunately, no ambush. That means that we can draw the light down in relative safety. Now, we do need to keep an eye out. Gand does have several skills that are going to cause her to jack that light level up. But I'm not terribly worried about that for right now. I don't think we'll ever get into a combat that's so drawn out and so lengthy that we really run the risk of getting up above that 25 light threshold. So I think we should be in pretty good shape, and if all goes well, and let's hope it does, if all goes well, we're going to be heading on to veteran level missions very soon, and we'll also be able to mix up our party, have maybe a little bit more interesting party composition than this same group of 4 rookies, and occasionally our poor Crusader Pouchot, who has thus far acted primarily as a punching bag. Maybe that's what I'm going to switch his name to. Pouchot, punching bag, I like that. That's pretty clever. Oh, Timepants, you've done it again. But there is a bit more interesting news to talk about than just my plans for building up these rookies and making them big, strong, manly, and womanly men and women. And that is that, Red Hook on the darkestdungeon.com website recently revealed that their Abomination patch, that is to say the patch that's going to release the new playable class, the Abomination, is going to drop on November 30th. and that excites me a great deal. My buttocks are a tingle with excitement because they have given a little bit of information as to what precisely the Abomination is, or what that class is supposed to be and or do. Now, they haven't tipped their hand too much, but what they did say is that it's a shape-shifting class, and that has me excited. One of my favorite classes in Dungeons and Dragons, because I'm a massive nerd, is the Druid. And you know, one of the hallmarks of the Druid class is that it shapeshifts, and like, how cool is that, really? That you'll be able to basically, I mean, like I said, they haven't released too many details, but here's what I'm assuming is going to be sort of the gimmick of the class. I think that during the dungeon, you might have like a consumable item, maybe something along the lines of the Houndmaster's doggy treat. And let's see, maybe it's better to go this way first. Wow, that's a lot of obstacles. Yeah, but I'm assuming you'll have something akin to the doggy treat that will enable the Abomination to shift into beast mode and basically start just tearing up the enemy that way. And perhaps there will also be perhaps it will be on a timer. Maybe it'll be a buff with a very long duration, maybe like 30 ticks or something like that. After which point the Abomination will revert, and you'll no longer get the benefit of that buff. Maybe even there will be some kind of drawback where, you know, there's fatigue associated or something like that. And so, yeah, after his buff duration ends, then now he's got this big lengthy debuff, and how are you going to deal with that one, smart guy? Did you think about that? So I was thinking maybe that was it, but then I also kind of started thinking about, oh no. I started thinking about how I handled this poorly, how I would do it if the Abomination's skills weren't handled that way. What would I do that might be sort of similar, you know, functionally similar to that? And so I came up with a couple ideas. Now, my first idea is, you can see every character has, 7 skills. So maybe the Abomination has 3 skills that are shifted mode, 3 skills that are unshifted mode, and then 1 skill that is shift or revert. And I think that would be a pretty interesting way to handle it. It would allow for some somewhat dynamic combat, because you could be shifting back and forth through combat, and you basically have to select, well, what would you rather have? Would you rather be in a situation where, you know, you have... Would you rather be in a situation where you have maybe your shift or revert, and 1 reverted skill and 2 shifted, and be like predominantly a shifter type, character, and bounce back and forth during combat in between the two? Or maybe you just decide, hey, I just want to go full beast mode all the time. Just give me 3 beast mode skills, and we'll call it good there. And yeah, you basically just decide that if you want to later, you know, if you want to shift at another time, you're just not going to do it during combat. You're not going to do it during combat. You might initiate by shifting. And that would be interesting also, if you had to really balance your skills based on how you wanted to approach battle, and whether or not you wanted to be sort of a hybrid class and fully take advantage of and fully take advantage of that flexibility, or if you really wanted to just go all in on one or the other. And I kind of like that. My other idea was this. Maybe, and this might... The reason that I think this might not be a possibility is because maybe it would create too much work for the development team, and I can completely appreciate not wanting to overcomplicate things for a game that has thus far been fairly simple mechanically, and I certainly don't mean that in any sort of a negative sense at all. But I was thinking maybe maybe the shifter has 6 regular skills. Let's see. 6 regular skills and 1 shift and revert skill. And then each skill has its own stats or attributes for the shifted mode. And then it might also have stats and attributes for the unshifted mode. And so maybe some skills lend themselves better to when you're shifted, maybe some lend themselves better to being in human form. So, for example, let's say he's got like a buff skill. Well, when he's shifted, maybe you get like +2 speed, +2 crit chance, plus 10% damage, something like that. But when he's unshifted, maybe you get +3 speed, +5 crit chance, plus 20% damage. And so you'd have to kind of weigh, well, I could use this skill suboptimally, or I could burn a turn, shift, and then maybe next turn it might be a more opportune time to use that skill. And I think we just leave it. And that would be a little bit interesting too. Again, I feel like that does lend itself to some potential complications, just in the sense that, I mean, having 2 sets of attack data for every single skill, there's a lot of balancing that would have to go into that, and it would be kind of tough to determine if there was, it would be difficult to determine whether or not there was ever a situation in which one form or the other might just be objectively better all the time. And you wouldn't want the Abomination to be a class where, every single situation you would want, like every single time that you would use an Abomination, I thought there was a chance. Every single time that you use the Abomination, you always want him to be shifted. And yeah, his unshifted form is just so weak and so pathetic that, yeah, there's just really no purpose to it. And, if it ended up being like a healing class or a buffing class, we've already seen what a buffing class looks like when, its buffs are not strong enough, and there's really just no situation in which you would want to be using those buffs. So if the Abomination, as has been speculated, is a high-risk, high-reward buffing class, well, those buffs better be very, very strong and very well-defined, because if they're not, who would ever use them, right? What possible appeal could they have? So I think it's going to be an interesting balancing act that Red Hook is going to have on their hands, if in fact this is how those skills or that shifting mechanic even work at all. I mean, it could be a situation where you just never really have control over when you shift. Maybe once your stress hits a certain level, like once it hits a certain threshold, that's it. You shift whether you want to or not. And then maybe there are drawbacks based on that character shifting. You know, maybe it really stresses some characters out to see their party member turn into a monster. And so having a shifted Abomination in your party risks a stress spiral, but you're getting all of these big combat buffs for having one. But at the same time, it's a really difficult balancing act because now you're on the clock and you are incurring massive amounts of stress every single encounter, from your party members talking to each other and just being like, what the fuck, like, what is this thing? And yeah, just flipping out and getting, clearly being very uneasy with the fact that you have what essentially amounts to a monster in your party. So I'm just kind of thinking out loud about how I would like to see the Abomination work, and how I think those shifting mechanics might work in a finished product. But I have to just add a little caveat that, I don't know what I'm talking about. This is purely speculation. I don't have any insider information from Red Hook. And why not, Red Hook? Huh? I know you're getting my emails. Is there some reason that you don't want to talk with me? I don't know. But I have to say that regardless of how this ends up working out, how they end up doing the Abomination, it's going to be really cool having a new class in the roster, and there's going to be a lot more. Jeez Louise. Okay, guys, take 5. But yeah, there's going to be a lot more strategic considerations now, especially if the shifting mechanic is as deep as I think it is going to be, and not just like the doggy treat where it's a very short duration, very limited buff. We'll see how it goes, but I'm very excited. So November 30th is when it drops, and you can trust that when it does, I'm going to be updating daily for a very long time until we fully explore the class. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.